Few Goldilock Bears podcast with Vincent Cloud.
John Nemitz.
And David Lauer.
And this is a show where we talk about our loves, hates, and indifferences. But not exactly this
Oops.
time. Yeah, oops. This is called Oops, All Deja Views. The Deja Views are usually what we do at the beginning of an episode where we bring up old topics and we follow things up with them. And if you're watching this episode, that means it's a week from now because Dave has to go to Rockfest. So yeah, we're going to be recording this in its stead. So yeah, let's start it off. Whoever wants to go first, who's got a Deja Vu?
Well, I've got one. This is remember when Vince brought up about plants can hear? Was that the topic? There's more studies being done and just a lot more stuff with plants seemingly like making decisions based on things you wouldn't think they're capable of. For instance, this is the craziest one that I heard of from like this recent research that came out. But I now realize how unprepared I am. I'll just say certain kind of plants. I don't remember what kind of plants they even were, but they'll basically like if they're blocking the sun for another plant that they're related to, they will like shift their leaves around to let more sunlight through. But they won't do it if it's like a plant that they don't care about, basically.
Oh, they're prejudiced.
Yeah. But yeah, like so somehow they have the ability for like, you know, one of their cousins to be like, "Hey bro, you're blocking all the sun." And they can somehow understand like where their leaves are in relation to this other plant and to the source of light and like make adjustments in order to let more light through. And I thought that was insane.
When a plant doesn't want to give sun to a unrelated plant, that's a vegetation vendetta. I don't know.
Oh my God.
No, I think I said like they make noise when they're being eaten or something like that. But
Oh, is
I
that what
think
it was?
yeah. You sent me an article about that, and I read it, and it was like, you know, because you always hear about like them opening up for the sunlight, and then when it goes down it closes, so it's like, oh, that's something. And then I think the Venus flytrap, like what the fuck is that? That's got to have some sort of mind to it or something. And being Native American, we grow up with like, everything has a soul or whatever, and what was it, grandmother Willow from Pocahontas. It's that sort of shit, man. So I don't know, when scientists say like it's weird, these plants are, they almost kind of try and warn the other plants that these bugs or caterpillars are eating their leaves. And didn't it say something like how it could either um the plant could somehow try and attract something that would naturally eat that caterpillar or something?
Yeah.
It was so crazy. Yeah.
And then, you know, you think about like, okay, well, you know, all this stuff could be explained by it's just responding to a stimulus. And, you know, over time, the stimulus that it comes in contact with, if it reacts a certain way, it's more likely to survive and all that stuff. But then I'm like, couldn't you say the same thing about humans?
Yeah, because they're like, it's survival. If they realize, oh, if this happens, we have a better chance of surviving. I don't know. It was a very interesting read. Dave, I'll try and send that article to you. I have it still.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, that kind of it reminds me of that movie Avatar, where like all of the trees are like linked up together in the root systems and they could talk to each other.
Mm.
And it was like a whole system, like a, you know, like a in an Ethernet or intraweb or something, you know, that it all like talks to each other.
Yeah, I
Uh,
remember when Avatar first came out and I watched it, I just wished that there was like a documentary style movie made that takes place on that planet. And it's just like David Attenborough explaining like how all the life forms coexist and how everything
that would be
works.
amazing.
Like I would have loved that way more than the actual movie that they made.
Yeah, James Cameron needs to just like can these sequels and just do documentaries.
Like I'm really interested. Like just now I am. I wasn't before. I was like whatever. But that's botany, right? So what
Yeah.
that field of okay. Yeah, I was like, wow, that's cool. I could just totally see it where it's like, yeah, someone could say, oh, that's just this weird reaction to stuff or whatever, They're like, yeah, sure, but we humans, like you said, we do the same sort of shit. Vegetative Vendetta. That's the title of the movie.
Yeah, like
Fucking
you were saying with like the Venus flytraps. I remember I was watching some YouTube video just explaining how they work and like everything and how it works. It was just like, oh, it's just like a nervous system in a like a person or an animal. It's just a nervous system. There's just like chain reactions that happen. Once the stimuli touches this, it sends a signal to this, and then that signal trips this little thing, and then it has a reaction and it closes on it and then it eats it. And yeah, it's just, I don't know, it was just like, yeah, that's just biology. It seemed like it was, whether it's plant or animal, it was like a very similar concept.
very impressive though. You ever try and catch a fly? That's like Karate Kid shit. Yeah. I am impressed. Uh, another Deja vu?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, well, yeah, I'll
Somebody.
go. How about that? Let's talk about fashion. Dave, you were saying like, oh, I don't know, I'm indifferent to it or whatever. What I realized is apparently I dress like a dad. Cargo shorts, polo shirt. When I want to be fancy, I'll wear a collar. So I'm wearing that. I'm wearing shorts that I've never fucking, replaced. Braided belt. I've had one of those. And yeah, apparently I dress like a dad. Of course, that's not because I am a father, but just people, that was the fashion for men, and men tend to get pigeonholed at a time, I feel like, more than women. Women are more ever growing trends or whatever, but we dudes tend to like stick a claim like this. I will forever dress like 2004, you know? Um, and then I discovered when it comes to socks, back then, like I wouldn't wear long socks at all. Like I like the low cut socks, but apparently Gen Zers can point out a millennial by those short socks. So I'm like, ah, damn it, I'm dating myself just by wearing socks now. Like that's sucks. I don't know.
No, you're not
Uh,
dating yourself by wearing those socks. You're representing the proper way to wear socks. All right. Think of it that way. You're fighting for the good team.
I
is it, or
mean,
is it just our time? Just we're pigeonholed in that time?
just tell me what kind of socks I need to wear to look like a 20-year-old. That's all I need to know.
Fucking rainbow
Uh,
socks with the individual toes. Remember that?
oh yeah. So they've actually like I've seen stuff before that says like when we look back in the past and like people like our age who are our age at that time, they look older than they should. It's because they're wearing the same clothes. Like, like when people were in their 20s, they wore whatever they wore, and then we see them now and they're like in their 60s wearing those same clothes. And like everyone, yeah, like you say, like especially guys, we just drag the fashion forward for the next 60 years of our lives. And that's then when you look back, like everyone looks older than they are because they're wearing old people clothes.
Yeah,
Uh, yeah.
I had that with like just blue jeans. Like every pair of blue jeans I had was just like the same pair of blue jeans I wore 15 years ago. And I'm like, why the fuck do I wear these? I'm like, they're terrible. Like I don't know. I was just like, I just need to get a regular pair of Wranglers that I don't want them like thin around like the knees. I just want them to be kind of just normal fit the entire way down, just like adults would wear. But like I found myself still wearing the same jeans that I would wear when I was like 23 or 24 years old.
Yeah, it's so weird to, say like, hey, that's how dads dress. Because of course, in my mind, dads wear big suspenders. That's how I see dads. But yeah, it's so crazy. It's just we're at that age. Anything else? Another Deja vu?
I got one. We were
Ooh, a
talking
Dave
about
Shaw.
Dave Shafu. It's about the Legend of Zelda.
Yes.
I was talking about how I love this game or this series. They're coming out with a new Nintendo Switch game called The Legend of Zelda: Echoes of Wisdom. And this is unlike any other Zelda game because this Zelda game, for the first time ever, you get to play as Princess Zelda. Because normally you always play as Link and your goal is to rescue Princess Zelda, but this one you're going to be able to play as Zelda. So it's a huge deal, and there's like a bunch of like articles like when it was first announced like a month or two ago. It's going to come out this September. There's a bunch of people just on like Facebook, and I'm reading the Facebook comments, which is always a
Oh
stupid
no.
idea. And there's just like people who are outraged. They're like, this is a terrible idea. If they're going to make a Zelda game, they should have just remade Ocarina of Time or Majora's Mask. And I'm like, well, yeah, those would be good games. But
I
like,
just
if
need
you're
to
going to
pay
make
another $70 to have the same game again on this system.
exactly, I'm like, they're coming out with a new game. I'm like, that's awesome. Like the fact that it's a new, fresh idea. Um, they're gonna reuse like the remake of A Link
Link's
to the
Awakening.
Past. Yeah, Link's Awakening. Yeah. They're gonna reuse that kind of template and that graphics, which I think is really cool because I like that. And I think it works really well on the Nintendo Switch. Yeah, I don't know. I'm excited about it. I think it's gonna be awesome.
Yeah, I'm super pumped for it. I remember when the first images of Tears of the Kingdom were released and Zelda had short hair. Everyone's like, oh, Zelda has short hair. She's gonna be playable for sure. Like everyone was like super excited that you were gonna like I don't know how they jumped from that conclusion or from that to that conclusion, but then obviously that game did not turn out that way, but I think Nintendo must have seen the excitement that everyone had at that idea and is making it happen now.
Well,
Yeah.
sorry, I was gonna say real quick. Mario, Mario would save the princess, but then in Mario 2, you could play as that princess. So, like, what's the big fucking deal, right? I mean, in
Yeah, where
terms
were the
of
woke
people's
police on
outrage.
that one?
Yeah, it's long overdue. Like, and what I notice is like every year when I see trick-or-treaters, especially the last couple years, there are tons of girls who dress up. They're like 5, 6, 7 years old. They dress up as Princess Zelda. And I'm just like, that's crazy. Like, I don't know. I'm like, you can't even play as her in the game. But like all these kids, they all play Nintendo and they all know Zelda. And like it's a like that and like, Princess or Princess Toadstool or Princess Peach or whatever the heck her name is. Like, yeah, like I think Nintendo has really started to realize there's like an untapped market of female gamers out there. And like I think they probably are realizing like guy gamers like we're gonna buy the games no matter what, like we don't really care. But if you kind of like broaden like your player base a little bit, it's gonna help them financially.
Yeah, I
Mech.
remember like back in the early days of the arcade, they were like, "Oh, girls don't like to play games," but it was like every game was like a shoot 'em up, like like either driving a spaceship around and shooting everything, or fighting or whatever. And then like they came out with like, "Oh, let's come up with a game where like Pac-Man and Miss Pac-Man."
Oh yeah.
And
Yeah.
like it's just a silly game where you're running around eating dots and stuff, and like all of a sudden like girls also like playing games because it was just something different from everything else.
But they
Yeah, and
didn't
like
like
we've
space.
Some do.
and like we've noticed that guys, a majority, or I don't know if it's a majority, but a lot of guys prefer to play as female characters. Like if you play like Call of Duty and you can pick your whatever it's called, your avatar or whatever, tons of guys play as girls. And like in Call of Duty or like Tomb Raider, even in fighting games like Soul Calibur or Mortal Kombat, like tons of guys choose to play as a female. Um so yeah, like having a Zelda game, like you can play as the female Zelda, like yeah, it's a no-brainer.
Sophia on Soul Calibur, she's awesome. I would choose her a lot. Yeah. Uh, um. Okay, so is there like, oh, woke sort of shit? Are they trying to say that?
I haven't been following the discourse. That was just my guess as to what people were saying. Like, what kind of comments were you seeing, Dave?
No, I didn't see that. I was just seeing people complaining about it, like, oh, like they were hoping the next Zelda game would be something different. Like, and
Mm.
like, I don't know, but it's like the same kind of discourse that I've always seen with Zelda. Like when they announced like Wind Waker on GameCube, everyone was upset that it was like animated and cell shaded and it looked cartoonish, and they're like, well, I want something more realistic. Um, but I didn't
Yeah,
see
but
anything
now it's
like
like that
complaining that it was
that
woke.
graphic style holds up way better than like Twilight Princess did on the GameCube, I think.
Yeah, I agree. Because that was the thing, is I remember once Twilight Princess came out, I was like, eh. I'm like, this is what I wanted, but it's not what I just don't
It's
enjoy
what I
it. I don't know.
deserve, but it's not what I needed.
Yeah.
But who is so Zelda has a character this whole time? Because of course, I thought that was Link. Link was Zelda, but I'm wrong. So you guys have known Link forever. Through the games, do you get to know Zelda? Like, does she have a fleshed out character and shit? Does she have powers?
Yes and yes.
Somewhat.
Yeah.
Like definitely in like, the early console games, it was like, okay, she's a sprite at the end of the game and that's it. But once you got to the point where you could make more advanced games that actually have like a story and stuff, she always became like a significant character and is often involved in helping you, like especially like against the final boss and stuff.
Oh, really?
But
Oh, that's
yeah,
cool.
but even like as early as Ocarina on the N64, she was a pretty significant like character like in the story all along.
I'm
Yeah.
kind of curious on what the if the game's going to be changed itself, because it's all the same. Like all these Zelda movie games are the same, where like you travel and you try and memorize the map and stuff. I'm wondering if like she's got money where she just pays someone to just get things done with it for her. I don't know. I don't know Zelda at all, so I don't know if she's rich, a warrior princess, what, you know?
That is what some people are talking about. They're like, well, is she gonna have a sword just like Link? Is it just gonna be like they're just gonna change what the character looks like, but it will play exactly the same as like as if you were Link?
It doesn't
Those are
seem
valid
like it.
questions. But
From
yeah,
the trailer I watched on the Nintendo Direct, it looked like it was going to be much more puzzly than combat-y.
Oh
Um,
shit. Okay.
Trying to remember what the dynamic was. Like she could create objects or something, and then you try to like use different objects to solve puzzles or something, but on a Zelda type world map.
shit.
Yeah. And they because they need to do it where like where Link you go into like a dungeon and you get like a new like object. You can use like a boomerang or a bow and arrow. They need to just come up and just kind of take those different objects and like make something unique for her to use. Just like variations of stuff. So
Maybe
that way the gameplay is at least, somewhat familiar, not like totally different.
maybe instead of a dungeon, she's like in a mall or something.
Yeah, and instead of like fighting the bad guy, she can get her nails done.
Get her
I was
hair
thinking maybe
did.
she'd go shopping for Link so he doesn't look like such a dad. Green tunics are so 1986.
That's great. Deja, yeah, another one.
Yeah, so we've talked about fake meat in the past, and then we kind of ventured into lab grown meat a bit. Um, I just saw an article today that came on my food crimes Slack channel at work, and it was basically like talking about how most companies that have been trying this have been really focusing on the feel and texture of the product, and this new Korean company is really just focusing on the flavor. But then you like look at the product and it looks like pink jello. So I don't know how successful that's going to be. Like obviously you don't want something that tastes horrible, but I I, I don't see this being too palatable. Um, hopefully they can cooperate with some other company that has a better textured product and somehow work something out. But I don't think this is going to be the one to end factory farming. But that's for sure.
So okay, well, I guess it just depends on you, John. Are you a fan of Jello?
I mean, vegans can't eat Jello because they're made out of like animal products like horse hooves and
All right.
whatnot,
Yep.
or fish or pork or something. But yeah.
Really? I had no idea.
Hmm.
Um, Jello shots, Dave. Would you?
But beef.
Yeah, yeah,
I know.
exactly.
I'm planning on making Jello shots next week.
Oh shit.
So this is gonna
Well, there you
break my
go.
brain.
Can you imagine that though? You take a it's just Jello. Used to like Jello, Jello jigglers, stuff like that. Could you imagine though? You take a bite and it tastes like a burger. I don't know. I owned Gak. Remember Gak? It was like this gross slimy stuff that kids
Yeah.
played with. It smelled like pizza. I bought a one that smelled like pizza. My whole family hated it. They were like, "That smells horrible, Vince." I'm like, "Yeah, but it's pizza." Yeah, I didn't eat it or anything like that. But I don't know.
Remind me not to let Vince make our pizza for us.
Oh my God. It was. I'm curious about this Jello burger thing. Like I'm willing to look into it and stuff. I would try it. Why not?
I'm out. Like like to me, I don't know. I've kind of come to the conclusion that like less processed, more natural is the way to go. Like and like it's if you take like the white bread that you get at the store, they like strip all the nutrients out of it and then they add in some, or they do the same with like rice where they like bleach it and they just strip it of everything and then they add, and then it's like fortified with vitamins and minerals and it's like, but it's like stripped of all its fiber and it's not really that good for you. So like I have such a distrust for so many food companies that I'm like, are you really gonna like give me something that's good and healthy for me? Like in like an idealistic world, like yeah, that would be awesome if we could do this, but I just don't trust it to be done right. Um, like I guess I don't know. Like I'd be worried that it's like bad for you, and like because like all there's so many different foods that are bad for you. Like why would this one be any different? Like and I want it to be like tested and like I want to see somebody like live on it for like 10 years and be healthy, then I'll try it. Because like I don't know, we've seen like we know what it's like when somebody eats like McDonald's and Burger King and KFC
Yes,
for 10
exactly.
years. We know what that person looks like. You can walk in a mall and you can be like, they eat fast food every day. You can point those people out.
Well, that's the question. Like they said they're focusing more on the taste more than like the visuals or whatever. What about the nutrients? Because an actual burger is not very good. Like my doctor was like, you should really cut that out. I'm like, fuck. So if they could be like, hey, you could eat this Jello that tastes like a burger, maybe I'll give it a whirl. As long as it's healthy, I'm interested.
Yeah, that's a good question. Like, like like when you think of lab meat, you always think they're trying to make it as close to like the original product as possible, which in the case of red meat is like horrible for you. So, like, yeah, that's a good question.
Yeah, that'd be so
I don't
weird.
know, but that's not like even consensus that red meat is horrible for you. You can find tons of doctors out there that say red meat is like super healthy for you.
And they're all on the Joe Rogan experience.
No, that's not true at all. Like there's
It was a joke.
like what yeah, okay. But like I don't know. They're like there's a lot of science behind it where they talk about like how cows have like I don't even know how many stomachs they have, but they have like 4 stomachs or 6 stomachs. And the fact that it's called like ruminant meat, the fact that the cow has so many different enzymes in all their different stomachs, they're able to break down all of their food in a certain way where they can extract more nutrients out of all the grain vegetables that they eat, that like red meat has more nutrients in it than chicken does or pork does. um like there is it calorically dense? Yes, it's very calorically dense, it's very high in fat, but it also has tons of nutrients in it as well.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, I think from a health standpoint, if if you eat the amount that they actually recommend, it's probably fine. I remember like being in college or something and like going in the cafeteria and they handed out these things that said like how much of a type of thing you're supposed to eat. And like for meat, it was like it should be the size of a deck of cards or less.
Right, right.
And I was just like shocked by that. Like, no way. Like that's like a fraction of what I would eat for meat, like in any given meal. But yeah, if that's what you're eating, and also like what the cows eat makes a huge difference too. Like to your point, like it it has to be, not garbage in order for them
Yeah,
to.
you because you get the cows that are just fed like corn and like soy, I think.
Yeah.
And it just fattens them up, and the meat looks totally different than like a grass-fed cow. Yeah, and like I always thought it was crazy, like the food pyramid stuff, where they're like, you need to have like 10 to 12 servings of grains a day. And it's like, that's a lot of, and they're like, what counts as a grain? And they're like, white bread. That's like, you don't want to eat that much white bread. And it's like, Cheez-Its are grain. So eat a lot of Cheez-Its. Or like, I don't know. It's like there's the like when you have like grains, there's such a wide spectrum. There's some good and some bad.
Yeah.
And like in all of those categories, like even like with like a fruit, there's some fruits that are really good for you. And then there's some that are like, wow, there's not a whole lot of nutritional value to it. And it's very like highly just filled with sugar. Like if you're just eating grape jelly, that's not good. That's not a good fruit.
Uh, another one? Another one.
Go off.
DJ, whatever, Kali.
Go off, son.
Oh, okay. So,
Oh, that was so long ago. I don't even remember that reference.
It's from last week.
okay. So, this is from my ability to remember faces, and I briefly touched upon some people looking like other people. And then I think you guys were like, oh, racism, racism. But I'm like, no, there's variations. So let's get very racist. No, there's doppelgangers. I wasn't sure if this is a whole new topic or this is a deja vu, but doppelgangers,
I
I
could see it
believe.
either way.
Yeah, I see both sides. Uh, doppelgangers, man. I believe they're out there, and I have
Everybody
some
has one.
examples. I don't know. I never heard of that, but I have one. I might have two actually. So I remember I was a teen and we went to Eau Claire for dinner or something like that, or lunch maybe. And I went to the bathroom and I was walking back, and this strange woman, or a woman that I didn't know, a stranger, she was like, walked up to, she's like, "Hey," and she was like talking to me, and I turned around. She's like, "Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were my son." I was like, no, I'm not. Oh, I'm not, or whatever, And that was the end of it. White woman. I don't know if that matters, but she
Of
was.
course it matters.
And also, I've watched Aqua Teen Hunger Force. There's the behind the scenes video where they're like showing people record and then edit and write or whatever. But at the end, there's a guy who's editing, and he, swear to God, like, I'm man enough to admit it or whatever. I'm like, wow, that looks like me. Wide, stupid face, annoying voice. His hair it's not a haircut style, it's just hair on his face. And I'm like, that's fucking me. And everyone else was like, holy shit, it's Vince. And yeah, it's so bizarre, but I totally believe there are people that look so similar out there. And I wrote down Will Ferrell and
That
Chad
one drummer.
Smith. Yeah, from Red Hot Chili Peppers, Chad Smith. They went on like Jimmy Fallon, and they were sitting right next to each other, and that was the whole joke, that they look exactly like each other. It's fucking crazy. Tom Hardy and Logan Marshall Green. He was in Prometheus. Oh God, I don't know. He's in movies, but not as much. I feel it's because Tom Hardy and him look so similar. People are like, why do we want to hire this guy when we could hire,
We have Tom Hardy at home.
yeah.
Yeah, Logan Marshall Green looks like almost like the dollar store version of Tom Hardy.
But you can see the similarities though. Come
He
on.
is. I don't know. That's kind of mean though, because he is a good actor. I've seen him in stuff, and I actually do enjoy his work.
Compared to
So
Tom Hardy or what?
Not as much as Tom Hardy, but like dollar store is kind of harsh. Like he's better than that.
here's something funny, very related. Um, I was trying to remember who Jesse Plemons was, and I just went into Google and I typed Fat Matt Damon, and he came up like immediately.
Oh no. Oh, he deserves better than that.
I know, I like him. I think he's great.
Who is that? Real quick, Jesse Plemons.
He's Fat Matt Damon. Look it up.
God damn it. No, like, is he, fuck. Name a movie that he was in, Dave. Do you know
I
one?
knew him first from a Black Mirror episode.
Okay, I knew him from Breaking Bad. He
I
had a
think
character on there for like a season, and I hated his character. I thought it was horrible, and I thought he was a bad actor. But everything I've seen him in since, he's been phenomenal. He was on a season of Fargo. That was really good.
I know this guy. I think I didn't get Fat Matt Damon. I got fucking alive Philip Seymour Hoffman. Like, he's eventually gonna play him in the movie. You know what I'm saying?
I could
Do you
see
see
that.
it? Yeah.
Yeah.
I had a roommate who had a brother who looked like Jack Black. That was crazy. Like, yeah, we were drinking, and he looked like him, but when he tried, to do the Jack Black look, the eyebrows, the cocked eyebrows and shit, you're like, holy shit, that's Jack Black. That's fucking crazy. And then I was with this girl, and we weren't dating or anything, but I assumed that was the at least to hook up, because we barely know each other, but we were hanging out. We go to this bar, and there's this fucking dude who looks like goddamn Dwayne the Rock Johnson, and she fucking just went right to him and just like fucking ditched me. I'm like, whoa, damn it, Rock.
She smelled what the Rock was cooking.
Yeah, yeah. And apparently, years later, it was domestic abuse. So yeah, she gets a hold of me. She's
Oh.
like, "I'm so sorry I did that to you. Turns out that guy was an asshole." I'm like, "Well, fuck you, bitch."
You're like, yeah, I could have told you that after 2 seconds. It wouldn't have taken me 6 years.
Oh, God damn it. So yeah, do you guys have any thoughts about doppelgangers? Do you believe in them?
I believe people look similar. My favorite, we've talked about cross-genre cover songs. I love cross-race doppelgangers. Like,
Yes. I was
whoa, that
hoping you'd say
person
that.
totally looks like a Vietnamese version of my friend, or like stuff like that. Like, it's that's like really crazy when that happens because it's like, people who grew up in completely different cultures and different lineages, but somehow like look like, oh, that's that version of this person.
Yeah, I knew a girl, her dad looked just like Carl Winslow from Family Matters,
Oh,
but he was a white guy and he was just a white Carl Winslow.
oh shit. Oh my
Like they
God.
looked exactly the same, like the face, the eyes, and it was the personalities were different, but I'm like like if I don't know, it looked just like him. And then
Uh,
also today I was at work. And this is funny because I didn't even know you're going to do this topic because I forgot about it. But I saw this guy and he looked just like a guy I went to high school with, but he was like Latino. And but he was like the same face. And I was like, oh my gosh, I haven't seen that guy in years. But it looked just like him. And it was like, I haven't thought of this person in years. But then I just see someone who's just like, oh my gosh, it looks just like that guy.
holy shit. Not cross race or whatever, but I remember I was at work and there was this woman who was like, I don't know, older than me, middle-aged, something like that, but she looked just like my ex, but middle-aged, like two divorces later or something like that, where I'm like, holy shit. And she caught me staring at her, studying her, and I felt bad, but I'm like, holy shit, that's her.
Like, take a
So
picture, it'll last longer.
oh, and
There's
then yeah.
I was there's a famous picture of like Elon Musk, and then there's like this Asian guy who looks just like an Asian Elon Musk. Just like you can't even like they look so similar. It's just uncanny.
Oh, and then people they're like, oh, Nicolas Cage is a vampire because there's like this very old picture of a
Oh
guy and it
yeah.
just looks like him. Yeah. So there's that sort of stuff too. I don't
Oh
know. It's
yeah, actually that
interesting.
reminds me. I was at my wife's grandma's funeral and there were like old family photos and there was like a picture of like someone from the 1920s who looked exactly like my wife. Like I thought so, and like a bunch of her cousins said so. Like it was bizarre. I mean, that makes more sense because they're actually related, but
No,
it
right, right.
was
Did she think so, your wife?
um I mean not as much as everyone else. Like
Oh, really?
but I feel
See,
like when it's you, it's you see your face in the mirror all the time. I don't know. I feel like I'm wearing contacts now, but I'm wearing glasses 99% of the time. And if anyone who has a beard and glasses, people will be like, "Oh, that guy looks just like you." I'm like, "Yeah, okay."
oh, I got one then. Scott Mosier. Do you know who he is? He's the producer for Kevin Smith.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know him, but I don't know what he looks like.
Look at John. Now look away. Now look back again.
All right, let me look this up to see if I
Do it. Do it. Oh, and
Okay,
then
that looks closer than many.
right? Okay, so Dave, dude, remember when I said like, dude, you got to meet this guy named Adam Hofkees? Like, okay, so
Yeah.
I started this new job and there was this guy named Adam and he kind of looked like Dave and he also had the vibe. So I just like, I don't know, I just walked right up to him and we just struck a conversation. It was very Dave-like. So it was very easy and all of a sudden we're just hanging out. And then I told Dave and him, I was like, oh my God, I didn't want to make it weird, but like you basically are like Dave, and I told you I'm like, there's this guy named Adam, and then at a party I was like, you guys meet, and so the universe explodes, but it didn't. Yeah,
I remember you saying that, and I was just immediately like, I don't want to meet this person. Like, I have no interest in it. It was like I live with myself every single day. I don't need a secondary projection of myself. I already got to deal with this. All right.
that's great. Well, hey, I think we're done. Hey,
Yeah, eh?
yeah.
Sounds good, eh?
So in that case, like, subscribe, comment, go to a few GoldilockBears.com. This was Vincent Cloud.
Leave us a 5-star rating and a review. This is John Nemitz.
Thank you for listening this evening. This is David Lauer.